So my name's Will Bosi, and I don't think I've got the strongest fingers in the world, but I think they're pretty strong. I am 5'9", so 176 centimeters tall. My ape index is +2 inches, so what, 180 centimeters, I think. And I weigh, right now we just got the scales out, I weigh 65.7. Kind of for the last 4 or 5 years, my weight's been kind of increasing kilo and a half each year. So when I started the World Cup competitions in seniors, I was more about 61 kilos, or like 60, 61. And then year on year from there, I've kind of gone up a bit. I sent Burn the Dreams, I think, at 65 kilos. And then this year I sent Sleepwalker at more like 66 to 67. And then kind of so that was back in February. And then from there on, I've kind of like been like creeping up every sort of month, maybe a half kilo. And I was more like 68 to 68 and a half, I think, in the sort of over summer period.
When you weighed 68, did it bother you?
Mentally, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate that is how I think things are in climbing, but yeah, I really struggle. Like when the schoolroom's got a scale, and I think it's really bad because I really struggle not to go and stand on it. But I make myself now have my session, and then I can look at the end, but it's still like, I still really have to go look, and it does bother me. But I have had some really good sessions in the school, then looked and been like, oh, I'm 68, but I was actually like kind of smashing up everything. So it's a weird thing mentally where I've like obviously put weight on year, and I feel way better and I feel stronger, but then I still I don't know, I struggle with it for sure. It is something I've thought about, is playing around with weight for like if I was to like train at a certain weight and then drop like a kilo or something for a project. But in general, it's not something I want to do. I think I'd much prefer just to basically train at this, like how I feel like healthy and eating when I'm hungry, everything like that. And then I would like to think that would be at the right level, that I'd still be able to go climb my projects at the same weight and not actually have to worry about it. But it's definitely something that's like been in my head before quite a bit. And this is the thing with this whole weight issue is, although obviously I've maybe got like negative views in my head, and there's, it's not maybe talked a huge amount in climbing. But for me personally, in general, when I'm hungry, I eat and try and eat as much as I need to. And although my weight's been going up year on year, I've been getting stronger and stronger year on year. And I definitely feel healthier and better in lots of different styles of moves as well, which before I couldn't do. So yeah, I think trying to be like as healthy as possible will always be better for your climbing. My standard training sort of week or like sessions in Sheffield when I'm here will be me waking up in that sort of 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. period. I don't like set alarms ideally for training days, and just try and wake up like when feels natural. Get up, have a pretty light breakfast, which can either be like a packet of oatcakes or pretty much like a bowl of plain rice with like just a stock cube or something in it. Which is also maybe not the most exciting, but yeah, something like that. I've actually been preferring the rice because it feels like a lot more food to start the day, but it kind of just depends because the oatcakes are kind of fast to eat, so depends on the mood. And then shower in the morning, super important for me. I've got like super sweaty skin, so that's always key, like wake up and always shower. Otherwise I find my skin will be like super greasy a couple hours into the day. Then walk to the wall, which is like 10-minute walk, and then we'll have sort of slow warm up, like dynamic stretching, going around feeling holds at the bottom and on the fingerboard for like an hour, where I'll slowly just progress to like actually hanging on the fingerboard and then going to one arm hangs, and just it's like as it feels more and more comfortable. And then we'll have like a half an hour period, I guess, at the end of that, or maybe it's like 45 minutes where I do like hard hangs. And the way I've been doing my fingerboard sessions now is quite different to maybe in the past, where I don't stick to one edge. I basically warm up until I can keep trying an edge till I get to doing that edge one arm body weight. And then I just move to a smaller edge, and then we'll like do again the same, like a bit with two arms, and like slowly work down, and then engaging, and then 1 second, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, always for 5-second hangs, and then try and just progress through all the smaller edges to whichever point I can't do, which at the moment is normally around the 10 or the 8 mil. Like the reasoning for that as well, just maybe a bit of a tangent, but is I've basically stopped fingerboarding 2 years ago because my skin would just get completely destroyed. Like I'd try and do like a max hang session and I'd just pull blood blisters in my pinkies every go. Or if I was doing it on smaller edges, I'd like cut the tips. And I decided that it's because I was trying to add weight and it's just like too much force now for my fingers. I don't know why for the skin. So actually doing like body weight hangs seems really good. So yeah, do that for like hour and a half from getting in the gym, and then get shoes on, maybe do a couple warm-up boulders, and then I'll do like 4 hard warm-ups, which like kind of my fingers are already fully warm, but like warm-up boulders just to move my body and legs a bit more. And then yeah, 4 hard warm-ups, which are around 8A boulders. And then basically we'll just go into trying like the 8Bs on the board for the next hour and a half or 2 hours, I guess, depending kind of how I'm feeling and how skin is. And then if that, like after that period, I'll like maybe drop the grade, do some like 8s, 8A pluses. If I was to do a shorter board session where I stick to like the 2 hours and I'm feeling still really good, then I would add campus blocks in, which would be more power endurance-y. But I haven't really been doing that too much recently. I think especially summer, like your skin just goes too fast. Then second session is kind of similar, warm up on the fingerboard, but don't progress to any of the hard hangs. So basically just warm up till I can do the sort of standard 20mm edge, one arm dead hang where it feels comfortable, and then I know my fingers are warmed up, but I've not like trained them. And then I will do some board climbs, but not super hard. So like do like an hour to 2 max of like easier ones, just pulling hard still though and climbing relatively hard. And then that session is where I'll really focus and try and do the power endurance and do ideally long campus blocks or long boulders. Kind of either works, it depends on the gym where I am. And then ideally, this is one that I've been really bad at actually doing recently, but ideally in the second session, if I'm not doing like the campus blocks, I will do the sort of continuity. I don't know if it's got a different name now, but like 10 minutes on the wall, 10 minutes off, or like 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off. Just trying to get like that sort of base endurance, because yeah, I don't do anywhere near as much endurance as I used to and as I feel like I need to. So trying to do like endurance sessions, I feel like adding that in at the end is really important for me. But I have to do it on the second session, because if I do it on the first, then I can't, like my forearms just feel kind of destroyed for that second session, which means I also then have to train the 2 days on. So if I have a day where I just like climb one day, my skin's destroyed and I'm like, oh, I'll take a rest day, then that's when I've been kind of ignoring the endurance, which is kind of bad, because I take the rest day and then I'll just do the first session again. So yeah, something I need to do more of, but that's in general my training sessions. So I don't train with other people that much. In general, like my sessions, especially in Sheffield, are just go to the schoolroom, and I don't really organise with people that often. When I do, it's quite often with people like Sam Blackwell. He's been around quite a bit and it's super fun to train with him. In Edinburgh, I will pretty much always organise to try and train with this guy, Angus Davidson, who I grew up climbing with as well. So like from when we were, I don't know, 10 or something like that, we've trained together pretty much for the whole time that I was there. So we get on really well, and I think are really good at like pushing each other in sessions. So I think Angus is probably my favourite person to train with. And that's just because I've like been training with him for so long. But in Sheffield, yeah, it kind of depends who's around, who's psyched, and yeah, it's just different, I guess. I normally finish my training sessions feeling completely battered. Yeah, I don't think I very rarely finish them feeling strong, I'd say. Like, especially like the project I've been trying at Badger Cove this year in the UK is quite indoorsy in that like none of the holds are really sharp, so you can have pretty long sessions, but it's very like compressy in my elbows, and my fingers, because you have to squeeze so hard because there isn't really the sharp edges. Like everything just feels super screwed. Like you have to climb like a rope to get out the crag, and it's like super hard work every session. I'm like struggling to get out of the crag. Yeah, I definitely am more used to finishing pretty beat up. I don't necessarily think people take it too easy in their general session. Like I think that most people finish feeling pretty tired, but I think something that I had to learn, so this is like personal for me as well, is how to actually fully try hard in the exercises and the training that you're doing. So like on a fingerboard, it's pretty easy to be like, oh yeah, I can hold this weight, that's kind of where my level is. But sometimes I think it's quite easy to actually kind of almost be hanging rather than like pulling on the fingerboard. And for me, it's definitely a completely different mindset almost when I go for like a max hang and I know that I have to like pull as hard as I can, and you give this like extra try hard, which is the same. I find like it's easier maybe to explain on like a board problem where you're like just falling on a move, and then I'm sure like most people have had this where I have it a lot where I'm like, oh man, maybe I should just try harder. And you get on it like, no, I'm going to really try. And then just do the move. And you're like, what was I, like, why was I falling off this? And I think that's something that maybe is hard to like unlock and hard to implement throughout the whole session. But I think it's really important having the full try hard when you actually are doing exercises. So after my training sessions, which will finish, I don't know, around 4 p.m. maybe in general, is like a good guess. I'll walk pretty much straight to the shops, which is like the same distance, 10 minutes, and then it's just 2 minutes from there to my house. So I'll walk by, unless I've bought food before, but in general I quite often buy on the day. Buy food for dinner, go home, cook straight away. So I'll have a super early dinner or late lunch, I suppose, because I don't really eat much at the gym. So I'll cook like a lot of food and I'll eat like a pretty big portion then, and then just as I feel hungry throughout the rest of the night, I'll just every hour or two I'll go back and like heat up another bowl of the food and basically eat kind of normally a ridiculous amount of pasta. That's kind of how it goes throughout the night. And then yeah, so when I'm back at home, what I should be doing a lot of the time is like editing YouTube videos, which I struggle to, I don't know. So I feel like I really need the inspiration for that. So sometimes I like get really into it and I'm like, I can just focus in and do that. Other times, yeah, I'll for sure sit and maybe like play some video games, which is really nice because it means I can kind of like be chatting with all my friends back from like Edinburgh or in different places. So yeah, we'll like, I don't know, play some random video games for an hour or two as well, which is good. And then yeah, go to bed, do the same the next day. How long I sleep for in general, I think it's about 8 hours. Like that, I'd say it's pretty good sleep. Sometimes maybe 9, potentially, if I'm really tired, 10. But it kind of all depends on the time of year for me because I'm anemic to B12. So I get like quarterly injections. So if it's like within the first month and a half or 2 of the injection, I'll be like waking up just like it's like you turn the lights on, I'm just up. Like as soon as I've like come out of sleep, I can't go back to sleep, and it'll just be like right, up, start the day, it's like good to go. Whereas when you get to that like last month where it's like run up to the injection, I just feel knackered. It doesn't matter how much sleep I get, I can wake up and just roll over and just fall back asleep basically continuously. It kind of sucks, to be honest, but so I think 8 hours is good for me, but it just depends how it actually makes me feel. Is it a rumor that I've got genetically strong fingers? Yeah. So I think there's probably quite some truth in that. I think finger strength, this is me going to be spraffing my own nonsense and not legit data, so don't take this seriously, you know, but I think there is like an element of not necessarily finger strength, but finger health that's quite genetic. Like I know some people that seem to always be injuring their fingers, and a lot of people like myself so far touching chair has been pretty lucky with finger injuries, and I've kind of got away with just like minor tweaks. And yeah, my dad, although my dad is just ridiculously competitive, like full stop, like, and he doesn't know where that, I guess, to like potentially like draw the line a bit. Like at one point he had got into doing press ups. So in the shop he works, it was like every hour he would just drop to the floor and do as many press ups as he could. He was like at this point maybe 60 or something. He got to do like 70 plus in like one go, and then injured his elbow. And you're like, well, yeah, I mean, it's not surprising you injured your elbow. Like you're trying to do like, I don't know, 400 press ups a day. But yeah, he got into climbing a couple of years ago, and was like within like 4 weeks or something was doing 7A routes, but not climbing them well. Like his technique and his like ability to route read was not there, but he could just like, he would just grab the footholds and was able to just crimp up and just kind of pull past them. It was really, really impressive to see. And I definitely think also my siblings, when they've been climbing, their fingers are really strong, and I think there's definitely there's a fair bit of genetics in that. I'm super competitive, but with myself. I think. So I always want to be better. It's why I struggle starting a new video game even, because I know I know how to play the old ones and I'm good at those. So I don't want to have to then relearn everything in a new one. Like I hate being, not necessarily, yeah, I guess maybe being bad at something. I like really struggle. I always want to like improve and get better. And it's just in my climbing, it's the same. Like it's why I'm always so psyched to go training, because I'm like, oh, I know I can be stronger or move better than I do already. So yeah, I think I'm really competitive, but with myself more so, if that makes sense. After a big send, it's weird. It really depends on the send and the individual like climb, whether that kind of puts me into this motivation of super psyched to keep going, or kind of like, oh, that's kind of over, like what's going on. Like I've had it both ways with even just the 9As I've done. So like after climbing Burden was just like, it was like such an incredible feeling. And I don't know, it felt very different to say Sleepwalker or Alphane. After Burn, I took like basically like almost a month off and like really chilled and kind of relaxed. And then yeah, I was like slowly started to get the psych back and the motivation to really get back into it. Whereas after like Alphane and Sleepwalker, it was like straight away, I was like, right, okay, what's next? Like I just was like wanted to get straight back into training, straight back into projecting. For me, it just changes climb on climb. I don't think there's one or the other. But in general, I'm pretty much always have more than one thing in my head. And I don't know if it'll be different when I find that sort of dream project that's just like one line that I keep trying for years and years. And then I feel like that'll just occupy everything. And then hopefully if I find that and I send that, then it might be quite different. So this again is touch and chair, but I think I've been able to like read my body quite well, and it's been really important for when I've had like minor finger tweaks or little like niggles and injuries. So far I think I've been pretty good at when something feels wrong, I just stop. Like I think the most important thing is never pushing it. Literally last week I had my first session in the Frankenmuir, and then one of the climbs we tried is this like old school 8A plus boulder that had this weird split mono, and I really wanted to do it because the moves were super fun. It was really cool. But after a go or two, it was just like, it just doesn't feel right. And I just stopped. And then like two of the other guys we were with kept trying it. One of them actually did the climb. It was super cool. But like, and it's really hard. Like I was really struggling not to be like, oh, I should put my shoes back on and try it again. But I think it would have been really bad. And I think that's something I've managed to do relatively well so far, is when things feel bad, I just stop. And I think that is something which is very hard to do when you're like outside and you feel close to something, especially, and you want to keep climbing. But I think if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. Yeah, no, I'm not doing weights anymore. I do very little strength training. Kind of the only strength training I do would be the occasional one armor to check I can still do one. And like, if my elbows are bad, press ups. Genuinely, pretty much other than that, I do borderline no strength training. I did get into doing weights for like a pretty long period of time. That was mostly based around like Olympic selection back in 2019, I think we worked on that mostly. And that was for hopefully help with like explosive power for bouldering and speed climbing. Obviously not doing speed climbing and not doing competition bouldering anymore. It doesn't feel as needed like outdoors. I've never felt like I've been lacking the kick in my legs, or in general, it's always like, if I'm not doing a move, it's more to do with my fingers, I think, currently. So yeah, I don't do any weight training. I did for a period and I thought it was really helpful and good, but not at the moment. Cardio is the walk into the crag, you know? I mean, like, because I remember one of the things I was told a lot from my old GB team, youth stuff especially, was like, cardio is super important, you need to do tons, like it's how you recover on routes. But I just don't rate it at all. Like I also hate running, which is, you know, probably not a good start if you want to do cardio. But yeah, I basically do none. I've never found it to be I've never found that I'm like out of breath, or like I feel like that's the limiting factor in a climb. I suppose in a way, the sort of 10 minutes, 15 minutes on the walls cardio, to an extent. I think for me, that's the most important thing, because being able to basically, when you're climbing and whenever you hit a jug, that you can just full recover is the most important thing. I don't think you need to be like, I don't know if being physically fitter helps. Like in my head, it doesn't. It's just like, as long as you can get a jug and just relax and recover, then that's all you need.